me get some volume here.
Yeah, same here. I'm just gonna double check my audio because I got something working wrong.
I can hear you.
There we go. That maybe's better.
That may be better right there. There we go.
That's better there, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. How are you doing today?
Good. I was just thinking about how with technology the way that it is, digital platform trading. I had my grandchildren were here for like 3 days. They left this morning at about 9 o'clock. I had to be in a town an hour away at 2 o'clock for a closing. So I said, well, I'm just going to go. I'm going to leave home at noon, and I'm going to find a place with a hotspot or a web connection. And I had no idea what I was going to do. And I rolled up into town, and here's this place called the Public Library. I said, shit, they probably got Wi-Fi. So I pull up at 10 minutes till showtime and connect to you to be able to do this show just without even any preparation for how I'm going to connect. It's just fascinating the way that we're connected. There's things that we can just take for granted. But so I'm sitting on the side of the road in Spindale or Rutherford, North Carolina, in front of the library.
So it's funny you said that. My wife was reading an online book, and I'm like, "Where'd you buy that at?" And she goes, "Buy it." She goes, "I went into the public library online and downloaded it." I'm like, "Hey, good for
Oh, I
you."
didn't know you could even do that.
Yeah, neither did I. I'm like, good for
Completely
you, because
free.
she does it all the time. So she goes to the public library, downloads the books for free instead of going to Amazon and buying them for $20 or $30.
That's what I do. Audible. I'm like a $30 a month Audible customer. I need to go inside and get me a library card.
Yeah, no, it honestly, Matt. I thought the only people who use the library are if you're over 90 years old to go cool down and drink coffee.
Yeah, or you're looking for a place to get a new set of newspapers for a shelter.
That's so true. Well, hey, I was just going through the scouting report. We're coming up to a long weekend here. So what are you thinking about talking about today? I know the market seems to be getting a little bit more activity. I don't see anybody building any great big inventories. I mean,
Now everybody's saying the same thing, and it's doing exactly. There's no surprise going on. It's the little summer bump we've been talking about. Everybody's filling in the inventories for vacations in July, for the mill shutdowns that are going to occur. It's just going to be a wash with supply and demand. A little less supply, a little less demand. But people are just shoring up holes that they've created from liquidating since May of this past, well, actually since March, we peaked and started falling off. And it's just a fill in. But the, um, I think the next thing that's going to be happening in the market to be on the lookout for is actually an underbought condition as we come into the fall, because everybody's expecting the absolute worst from housing. It's and I think there's going to be the surprise is probably going to be the money that gets spent on DIY projects because travel has gotten so difficult
yeah,
again, and and especially the existing home sales. I saw just heard the data on the radio that the existing home sales listings are up 20% since last year this time.
yeah. I saw the chart. This morning. Somebody had it on one of the social media feeds, and it's interesting. Obviously, it shows that inventory is up. But one of the things is, I think you have a good point here. We all go feast or famine, big negative. I mean, housing may slow a bit, but it could still stay pretty damn good, right? I mean,
Yeah, and even if prices fall by 10 or 15%, that's all that's going to do is just requalify the people that want to get in, because all that's going to happen right now is you got interest rates up double. I listened to another thing on the radio talking about this in like San Francisco or San Diego or somewhere like that, where $1 million home is what was a median entry level low end price of a house was. All they're going to do now is they're just going to change the number to 750. And
yeah,
the same
yeah.
thing, a $400,000 home is. It's not that people are going to quit looking. They just need $250,000, $300,000 homes.
No, no, no. So Brett Walls was saying, what about commercial and multifamily? And yesterday, Greg had an interesting comment. Maybe you could follow up on this one, Matt. If you look at um, the single families are continuing to kind of come down a little bit, and multifamilies going up. So his thought was at the end of the year, housing starts could be unchanged to maybe lower from last year, but with single family being down and multifamily being up a little higher. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It makes a lot of sense. But at some point, you're going to hit this point of no return where $2,700 for an apartment, 2-bedroom apartment, gets you a house payment even at 6%. You can afford to buy a house. So I think there's a there's a wall that we're going to hit with the rental income, the rental housing, and rental apartments. That it just can't keep going up forever. It's going to be it's the same effect as a higher house payment. You can't say, well, just because you don't own it, you can afford to rent it. It's still a house payment. It's still a shelter payment.
That's right. That's right. Well, I like reading this the scouting report that you put out. Southern Yellow Pine, you said, has quickened a little bit, and we were talking yesterday on the call how much 2x6 is out there. I mean, the Southern Yellow Pine market seems to be awash in 2x6 right now, doesn't it?
Well, it looks it's in the $300 range.
Yeah.
Everything else is still 6 and 5s and 4s anyway. But I mean, I think the load number I heard on 2x6s was $300, and shoot, why not take a poke? You can cut like somebody bitch just say you cut for 2x6 cans and you run them back into 5/4. And I don't know that that's a smart thing to do because there's just not that big a demand for decking at the moment. But shoot, use 2x6s to build a deck out of.
Yeah, 2x6s, or people used to take 2x8 and run them through a profiler and make scant 5/4 decking. I remember when it used to get cheap enough, right? Remember that's that old gimmick.
You get caught with that missing that 1/8 inch worth of trim, and you get a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, but you're right. I remember as a kid always building decks out of 2x6, right?
Yeah, that was before there was decking. 2x6 was the thing to do.
That's right. That's right. SPF Eastern Western Canada, that seems to be getting a little bit of a bite. It seems that the CME is up pretty strong today, and as we've been talking for months here, you got to get that CME kind of in front to get moving a little bit, right?
Yeah, and it's still, if you look at it, it's in front, but it's still what's September still under $600.
Yeah, and I think Matt was saying yesterday, Matt Beamer, about if you really look at the curve and how far you can price wood out, 6 months, it's not much of a premium to what you can buy it at today.
Yeah, which is, if we talk about futures being telling, what's that telling you?
Well, it's telling you that if everything remains the same right now and nothing happens that we don't see coming, there's no hand of God that comes in and changes something that we have no control over, that the probability is that prices don't move as high if they move last year. The volatility is going to be certainly less, and people aren't building inventory is what it tells me.
Yeah, and the long-term fear is gone.
Right.
The uncertainty is gone. The certainty of the uncertainty of pandemic and it tells you that people. To me, it tells me that people are settling into wherever we are as kind of normal and just kind of hoping and thinking and praying that we're not going to have another miraculous thing that turns us topsy-turvy. And I don't know that that's a good bet to make, but
yeah. I was looking. Some items are pretty strong. I mean, we were moving items in Idaho and Washington yesterday to job site deliveries for builders. I mean, talking to one person on the platform today, he took a big job. He said forward 4 months from now, and she said the multifamily people are still out there trying to push the risk back to somebody else, right? So they're still busy. Let me see. Brett asked, any thoughts on the adder? Any thoughts on the added new truckload contract spec and the hopeful added liquidity it adds? Brett, I think one of the things is I don't know when that's going to be put in as an actual active contract. I know at some point somebody said yesterday if
it's going to be the September contract, but I don't know when it's going to come in.
Okay, so my thought on it is when you have 4 trucks instead of 1 car, it gives more ability for speculators to come in with less margin call. I mean, it's still the same. You're just sending less money back and forth, right? Because it's 25% of a contract. But what I like about it is the fact that it can be exchanged for a physical product as a truck with anybody. It doesn't have to be a mill. You can exchange it with a wholesaler down in Atlanta, Georgia for Southern Yellow Pine, right? And I hope the industry figures out how to do more of that and start exchanging physical for CME contracts to create some more liquidity in other species, right? That's what Ashley personally thinks.
Yeah, and I what I haven't reconciled is how are you going to determine what that price is? You've got a Chicago price, an Atlanta price, a Memphis price, a Charlotte price, a Doug fir product, a hem fir product, a Southern pine product, a spruce product. I don't know how you're going to.
An EFP is just it's a negotiation between two parties. You can come up with it any way you want to. You're just exchanging your contract for theirs and exchanging it in turn for a discount or a premium on a physical contract delivered, right? I mean, so that's one thing. You're right. It's going to take a lot more negotiation or a platform that can actually do that for you, right? Figure that negotiated price.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
We'll leave it
Here
at that
comes
right
the old
now.
pat on the back. Yeah, you guys are positioned in a great place to do that. So yeah, it's getting close, but they still got some wrinkles they got to iron out. That we're at.
As with everything, the contract needs more volume. It needs more participants. It needs more people to manage risk, both long and short. And I think that the CME is doing a good job hearing what people said and putting that in there. And we'll see as they launch what happens. Yeah, Brett says you owe me for setting you up. No problem, Brett. I appreciate that.
Yeah, the cool thing about that contract is 80% of Southern pine lumber moves by truck, and if you can get wood component manufacturers and wood preservers in a position where they can forward buy some volumes of truckload quantities of pine, that's going to be a home run. That's going to really open up things for everybody.
So here's again, this is Ashley's opinion, and this is what I've seen from being on the forefront, a lot of this innovation and forward pricing, from doing swaps at one of the largest publicly or privately held companies to helping, develop one of the products for it. The reason a lot of people don't use the CME or derivatives off of it is they don't know how to, and they're afraid to say they don't know how to, and they pay somebody else to do it for them. And it's as simple as that. So what it's going to take is education and people to, especially at these larger companies now that are growing and are big enough to have their own risk management specialist actually at their company. You need that person at a company to say, I'll do that, and I'll take the risk on it for the company, and I need to be paid for doing it, right? And until you have that, you're going to have people going through all kinds of third parties to do it, right? So in order to get more, you need more people doing it.
Yeah, and I think the first place it's going to probably catch on is going to be buying groups, because every one of those guys have the ability to do that, and each one of those places has 300 or 400 dealer members. So I think you could see the buying groups step up and really be active participants in that from the get-go.
Oh, for sure. And I think they do a pretty good job on it right now with how they do it, most of them. But what I'm saying is this is going to open it up for, I think in the world we live in today, people are going to have to internalize that and wear their own P&L book at their own companies.
Yeah.
And have somebody internally to rely on doing a lot of that. And however they choose to do it, that would be my advice. And there are people out there that can do it. They're just not going to work for a salary without taking without wanting to get paid on both sides of that, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, as long as they win, they're not going to want to pay if they lose. They don't want to.
When they lose, they go somewhere else. That's generally
start all over here. I think that's defined as a lumber broker, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Anyway, there's a lot of good ideas in that. So OSB, you know what? I woke up the other day and started looking at OSB prices, and they're still coming off, Matt.
Yeah, I think this fall, particularly probably October-ish, is going to be a great time to take a speculatively long position for OSB. If that stuff gets into $200, I think you're going to see people buying it up for 6 months in advance, and just saying, well, how low can it go? I mean, it could go to $135, but the market's not going to get there and stay there.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, George. George just threw it up there. It's like, literally, Matt, I thought that was firming up a couple weeks ago, and I saw it. But what we talked about is when I saw all these little deals being done 2 weeks ago where people were guaranteeing downside protection, these mills knew something was coming, right? They had too much inventory,
Yeah.
and I'm glad I advised some of these people that I know not to load up on that, because it was when you see people doing things out of the ordinary, trying to build out an order file, there's a lot of stuff out there, right?
Yeah, and I'm not a big proponent of buying something on price, because I'm more of a timing person. But I think you get to the point where you can buy OSB in the 200s. You look at the the difference between price last year, price this year. Price of OSB is half of what it was last year, and everything else is about 30%, down about 30%. But OSB it's just gotten, it's figured out wherever its hang up was, hang nail was last year. They've got that all worked out, and I really think it's just the proper distribution of the product, so you don't end up with Home Depot and Lowe's sitting on a bunch of stuff in the warehouse, and everybody has a chance to get their hands on it. But I think this could really be a good speculative opportunity for anybody that's in the risk-taking business.
Look and that was the question some people were calling me on yesterday or last week and 2 weeks ago. They're like, should we spec on some of this? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not, but what that means is when there's a lot more availability to the general population of anything, it's for a reason, right? It's the big people aren't taking that risk right now, or don't need it for some reason, right? But there seemed to be plenty of it. So what we came up with yesterday talking as a group, and it's like, could this lumber market just be the boring lumber market of summer 2022?
Well, it might be the boring lumber market of summer 2022, but if you look at the whole year, it's not going to be a boring year.
I think absolutely. If you take the year, you're definitely no question on it. I'm just looking at the next 2 or 3 months going forward without just based on what we know.
Which is kind of dangerous, because to get lulled into thinking it's just going to be a boring lumber market, you're going to get caught.
Yeah, well,
So you got to expect something to happen.
Yeah, and again, I mean, the market is very fluid right now. There's the ability to keep moving stuff. I saw some Bill from Sherwood put out today. The Eastern market was busy yesterday, and they still have some logistical issues on shipping. So they've been good as far as building an order file out and keeping stuff moving. Any of the items that multifamily builders use anywhere in the U.S., 9-10 foot studs, those are trading like crazy. It's hard to buy a big chunk of those at what I shouldn't say it's hard to buy a big chunk. It's hard to buy big chunks at what I'm seeing circulated out there as bids right now, and risk for the forward market right now, what people want to buy.
Right. And that's probably, as you get closer to the fall, it's probably going to tighten up even more. So their window of opportunity to pick up some of these things that are value prices is going to be relatively small around the end of August.
So I like what you put here in the bottom line. Be careful of latching on too tightly to your newest housing and lumber story. Remember that it's mostly influenced by the last thing you read, hear, and experience. That speak is recession, inflation, and housing split heavier to the rental properties, leaning on the negative side.
Yeah, like all the news that you can't turn on the TV or read a blog or something on social media. Everybody's saying the same thing, that single family, particularly housing, everybody, those single family is going to bust, multifamily is going to swoon, it's going to be build to rent's going to be big, and I think kind of one of the overlooked obvious is the repair and remodel that's going to be necessary for existing homes, because the price disparity is going to get, there's going to be more of them, with more people trying to take advantage of getting rid of their properties at higher prices.
And let's not forget. I mean, I think I was looking at something on one of the feeds. John Burns maybe put it out, or somebody did. Some of the biggest repair and remodel, although it hasn't slowed very much, and where it's really prevalent, seem to be in the Northeast and in the Midwest. Why? Well, I think I read it, and it's the oldest homes, right? So
Yeah.
You think about it, these, you're starting to get homes, built in the 1800s, 1920s, and 30s. People are buying them. They still need to fix them up, right? I mean, that's just,
and they're haunted though, so you got to get them cleaned out.
you got to burn. Don't you burn sage?
According to Netflix, yeah, you got to get a basket of sage to go with it.
Yeah, it's so. I was a big, oh boy, the housing is really going to get pummeled 4 weeks ago. And as I look around and read stuff, and see with my peepers what's going on. Maybe I see a few houses by me on the market a little longer, but they're got contracts on them pretty quick still. Stuff
And
is
they're still
still
getting, the going number in rural North Carolina is still $200 a square foot for either a used home or a new home is like $240.
yeah.
That's insane. I mean, you see little country homes that are out in the middle of nowhere that if you want some land, you have 4 or 5 acres of land, you could buy the land, but you probably won't have an internet connection. You got to drive 20 minutes to the grocery store, but
Or you
do
can raise
homeschooling for your kids. But
you can
but a
raise your
deal
own.
is still $200 a square foot. That's kind of insane to me.
Yeah, you could take an acre of that and raise your own food on it and have some chickens running around, man. Beat some inflation. I may have lost you there, Matt.
You're breaking a little bit there, but some of that
Well,
last comment.
no worries. I think I got you're back now. You're back now. You got me okay?
Yep.
Okay. So anything you want to put bookends on this conversation? We're up against a half an hour here. I want to make sure I give you the last say here.
Yeah, I wanted to introduce the newest addition to Layman's Lumber Guys forecasting products. Is Tim Symes is now a contributor. Tim's a housing expert.
Tim's great.
He's awesome. He's ventured out on his own. He's going to be we're going to call it housing to build on. And Tim's take on the housing market going forward is going to be the amount of lumber that's going to be consumed for repair and remodel and upfix on houses. The thing that's kind of unique is Tim's goal and focus is bringing housing information to lumber dealers, and our focus has been on bringing lumber information to home builders. So we have this great mesh that's really going to work for everybody. I think our first article is in today. It was it's pretty cool.
Well, first, look at Tim is one of the good ones in the industry. First of all, he is smart. He's a good person. And one of the hardest things to find in our industry is good information on repair and remodel and how that the actual pull of the end users and how that's happened. It's just such a big lag on that. It's hard to get good information on that, Matt.
Yeah, it is so much. I was asking Tim about who he got. Did he get this information, that information? His list of sources is so deep. I mean, he spends a lot of time just absorbing information and then being able to shake the wheat from the chaff and come up with something good out of it. It's a great read. You can check it out.
I'm going to definitely do that. Like I said, I can't tell you enough how, anytime I've ever had any questions or needed help, like Tim is one person that will call me back immediately. Even when I needed somebody else to get some help that was writing something in college, I asked Tim about it and he took care of him like that. So, you got to,
good guy.
Yeah, he is. All right,
Tim,
he
just moved to Mexico.
I do. He got out of the treehouse and went to Mexico.
I still can't understand why, but other than maybe it's a third the cost. But
man, that's everybody's doing the reverse commute. Pretty much everybody's going to stream across the other side of the border now again.
That's right.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that, Matt. And I'm going to read that. And what's it called? What on your report? What's his?
It's on the second page. It's called Housing to Build On.
That's awesome. So I'm that's exciting. I'm going to look on that. Well, look at Matt and I are coming up against a half an hour. So Matt Layman, Layman's Lumber Guide, Ashley Buckle, mxlumber.com. Thanks for everything. We'll look forward to seeing you next week, and you can join us tomorrow for Friday.
Do we want to do this next week since it's going to be a holiday week? The 4th is on. Let's make a decision because I think the 4th is on like Tuesday, isn't it?
Monday. Is it Monday?
Is it Monday?
Well, let's circle back on that. I'm good either way.
Be enough. You just let the audience be prepared. If there's not enough going on, we might not do it, but we'll still plan to.
All right, sounds great, Matt. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Jordan. See you guys.
Thanks. Bye.